Most people don't even realize how much pretending they do. It starts early. You learn what gets approval, what keeps you out of trouble, what earns a smile. So you adjust. You become what people seem to want. You laugh at things that aren't funny. You agree when you don't mean it. You hide your real thoughts, your real reactions, your real self. At first it feels harmless, maybe even smart. You think, this is just how life works. Everyone does it. And you're right, most people do. But over time, that act becomes more than a habit. It turns into a mask that's hard to remove. You start to forget where the mask ends and where you begin. Pretending can make life look smooth on the surface. It can help you blend in, avoid conflict, or look successful. But deep down, it costs you something important. Your inner peace. Because every time you silence your truth to fit in, you trade a small piece of yourself for temporary comfort. And the more you trade, the emptier you feel. You might notice it in quiet moments, when the noise fades and you're alone. You might feel a dull ache, a sense that something's missing, even if nothing looks wrong from the outside. That's not failure. It's not weakness. It's your real self trying to get your attention. Carl Jung understood this feeling well. He studied the ways people hide behind roles, images, and expectations, and he saw how those masks keep us from becoming whole. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things a person can do. To stop pretending, to drop the mask, and to face the truth of who they are. We wear masks to protect ourselves, but eventually they protect us from the very life we want to live. They block real connection, real emotion, real freedom. And the longer we hide, the more distant we become from our own core. The good news is that this doesn't have to continue. There is a way back, a way to return to what's real, to uncover the parts of yourself that have been waiting beneath the surface. That's where Jung's process of individuation begins. It's not about changing who you are, it's about becoming who you are. And that journey starts the moment you stop pretending. Faking it isn't always dramatic. It doesn't always mean lying or putting on an act for the world to see. Most of the time, it's quiet, almost invisible. It shows up in the way you say yes when you mean no, in the way you smile to avoid questions, or how you push down your feelings because they seem inconvenient. Faking it means living from the outside in, letting other people's opinions shape who you are. You do what's expected. You say what's safe. You follow the rules that keep you accepted, even when they don't fit you anymore. It can look like success, but it feels like pressure. It can sound like confidence, but it's really exhaustion. You might tell yourself, "I'm just being flexible. I'm adapting." And sometimes that's true. We all adjust to different situations. But there's a difference between being adaptable and being false. Adaptability helps you connect. Faking it helps you disappear. When you fake your way through life, you end up playing a part instead of living a life. It's like rehearsing someone else's lines in a story that doesn't belong to you. You look fine on the outside, but inside you feel disconnected, not only from others, but from yourself. You start to lose track of what you actually want. You say things you don't believe just to keep the peace. You chase goals that don't satisfy you. And at the end of the day, even your victories feel hollow. That's because they belong to the version of you that's performing, not the one that's real. Carl Jung warned about this when he wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." He knew that honesty with yourself can be uncomfortable, even frightening. It means facing the parts you've hidden behind the mask, the doubts, the fears, the honest opinions you never speak aloud. But he also knew that this honesty is where real freedom begins. Faking it might protect you from rejection or judgment, but it also keeps you from the deep satisfaction of being genuine. When you stop pretending, you might lose some approval. But what you gain is far greater, a sense of peace that can't be faked. So ask yourself, where in my life am I performing instead of living? What would change if I stopped? You might find that what you've been afraid to show is exactly what will set you free. Carl Jung used the word individuation to describe the process of becoming your true, complete self. It sounds complex, but it's actually a simple idea. It means bringing all the different parts of who you are into balance, instead of letting one part run your life. Most of us live divided. There's the side we show to the world, the polite, capable, careful version. And then there's the side we keep hidden, the uncertain, emotional, or imperfect parts. Individuation is about no longer treating those sides as enemies. It's about recognizing that every part of you has a reason for being there. Jung believed that the goal of life isn't to be perfect, it's to be whole. He wrote, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries." In other words, growth doesn't come from denying what's uncomfortable. It comes from understanding it and giving it a place in your life. Imagine all the different aspects of yourself sitting around the same table. Your confident side, your fearful side, your logical mind, your emotional heart. Individuation means letting them talk to each other instead of fighting for control. You don't have to silence one to respect the other. You just have to listen. It's easy to think that becoming yourself means adding more strength, more skill, more success. But individuation is the opposite. It's about peeling away what's false, what's borrowed, what's unnecessary. It's a process of remembering rather than achieving. You aren't trying to become someone new. You're trying to return to who you've always been underneath the layers. This isn't a quick or comfortable process. You'll face contradictions in yourself, the kind that make you wonder, how can I be both confident and insecure, kind and angry, brave and scared? Jung taught that these opposites don't cancel each other out. They complete each other. They remind you that you're human, not a performance, not a label, not a fixed idea. Through individuation, you stop measuring yourself by comparison or approval. You start building your life from the inside out. You learn to make choices that match your real values, not just what earns praise or avoids criticism. You begin to see that your thoughts, emotions, and experiences, even the messy ones, are all part of one connected whole. You. As Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That's the heart of individuation. Choice. The choice to know yourself. The choice to accept yourself. The choice to live as yourself. When you make that choice, something quiet but powerful shifts inside you. You stop chasing an image and start living a truth. You stop pretending and start belonging, not to a group or a role, but to yourself. Every person wears a mask. Carl Jung called it the persona, the version of ourselves we show to the world. It's the face we put on to meet life's expectations, to do our jobs, hold conversations, and function in society. It's not fake by itself. It's a tool, a way to communicate and belong. We all need a persona to some degree. It helps us move through the world with structure and confidence. You can think of it as your social uniform, the image you wear to play your part. But the trouble begins when you forget that it's only a mask. When you start to believe that the mask is you, you begin to lose contact with the person behind it. Over time, many people become trapped in their persona. You might act strong because people expect you to be strong. You might act cheerful because it makes others comfortable. You might act calm when you're falling apart inside. The mask keeps you functioning, but it also keeps you distant from your real thoughts, your real needs, your real feelings. Jung warned that when the mask takes over, life starts to feel shallow and disconnected. You might look successful or seem confident, but inside you feel like an actor in your own story. He said, "The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is." That means the mask doesn't just fool others, it can fool you too. The longer you wear it, the harder it is to take off. You start to worry that without the mask, you'll be judged, rejected, or misunderstood. But here's the truth. The mask is supposed to serve you, not control you. It's meant to be something you can use when needed, not something that defines your worth. Removing the mask doesn't mean you abandon manners or social roles. It means you stop hiding behind them. You let the person breathe a little. You speak from honesty, not performance. You allow yourself to be seen, even if it feels vulnerable. Taking off the mask can be uncomfortable at first. You might not even know who you are without it. That's how deeply it can attach to your identity. But the moment you begin to separate who you pretend to be from who you actually are, a sense of relief starts to grow. You feel lighter, clearer, more alive. The mask will always have a place. You'll still need it to move through the practical parts of life. But now you can choose when to wear it and when to put it down. That choice is power. That choice is freedom. When you begin to live without depending on the mask, you stop performing and start participating. You stop existing as a role and start existing as a person. And that is the beginning of a real, unshakable kind of peace. Every person carries parts of themselves that they try not to see. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the hidden side of your personality. It's made up of the traits, emotions, and thoughts you've learned to push away. Maybe you were told they were wrong, weak, or unacceptable. So you buried them. You put them out of sight and tried to move on. But what's hidden isn't gone. It waits quietly in the background, shaping your reactions, your fears, your choices. You might feel sudden anger, jealousy, insecurity, or guilt, and not know why. Often that's the shadow trying to get your attention. It doesn't come to harm you. It comes to remind you of what you've ignored. Jung said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." What he meant is simple. The more you avoid your hidden side, the more control it has over you. The less you face it, the more it directs your behavior without you even realizing it. But when you turn toward it, with honesty instead of fear, something changes. You stop being controlled by it and start learning from it. The shadow holds qualities you might not expect. It's not only anger, shame, or fear. It can also be strength, creativity, and courage that were once rejected or misunderstood. By meeting these hidden parts, you begin to recover lost energy and clarity. You become more balanced, more complete. Facing your shadow doesn't mean acting out every emotion or giving in to every impulse. It means allowing yourself to understand what those feelings are trying to say. Instead of pushing them away, you can listen. Why am I angry? Why am I jealous? Why do I feel small or unseen? Each question is an opening, not for blame, but for awareness. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That means growth doesn't come from pretending to be positive all the time. It comes from being honest about what's real inside you. The light and the dark, the proud and the ashamed, the calm and the conflicted. When you face these parts with compassion, not judgment, they start to lose their power over you. They stop running your life from the shadows. You begin to understand yourself in a deeper way, not as a collection of flaws to fix, but as a whole person with depth, history, and meaning. The truth is, no part of you exists by accident. Everything you've pushed away once had a purpose. It was trying to protect you. By meeting your hidden self, you honor that purpose while gently letting it evolve. You no longer have to fight against yourself. You can start to live in cooperation with your full humanity. And in that honesty, you'll find something surprising. Peace. Because what you've been running from all this time was never your enemy. It was a part of you waiting to be seen. Once you begin to see both your outer self and your hidden self, the next step is to bring them into balance. This is the heart of Jung's idea of individuation, not choosing one part of yourself over another, but allowing them to coexist. Balance doesn't mean living without conflict. It means learning to stay centered while conflict happens inside you. We all have many sides, the part that wants control and the part that wants freedom, the part that wants peace and the part that craves challenge, the part that speaks and the part that stays silent. Balance comes when you stop treating these sides as enemies. Each one carries something valuable, a voice, a need, a truth. Carl Jung said, "The greatest and most important problems in life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. You don't fix your inner tension by erasing one side of yourself. You grow beyond it by understanding both sides and learning how to hold them together." That's what balance feels like. Not perfection, but wholeness. To build inner balance, you must first create space to listen to yourself. That might mean sitting quietly, writing your thoughts, or simply noticing how you feel without trying to fix it. Most people are so used to reacting, explaining, defending, proving, that they never stop long enough to ask, what's really happening inside me right now? When you start to listen, patterns begin to appear. You notice when your actions don't match your values. You see where you've been pushing yourself too hard or hiding from what you need. Balance also grows through honesty. It takes courage to admit, "I don't know," or "I'm not okay right now." But that honesty gives you stability. Because when you stop pretending to be fine, you stop building your life on a lie. You can finally stand on solid ground, even if that ground is imperfect. As you practice this awareness, decisions become clearer. You begin to act from your own truth, not from fear or habit. You start to notice what feels right for you, not because someone told you, but because it resonates inside you. That's inner guidance, and it only appears when your mind and emotions are working together instead of against each other. When you live in balance, you're not ruled by your moods or your doubts. You still feel them, you're human, but they no longer define your direction. You can experience emotion without being lost in it. You can think clearly without becoming cold or distant. You move through life with a steady rhythm, responding instead of reacting. Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And that's true. Balance isn't comfortable at first. It asks you to face what you've ignored and to accept what you've resisted. But once you start, the struggle becomes lighter. You realize that every emotion, every conflict, every inner voice is part of a larger harmony. Balance isn't about control, it's about connection. When your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned, you stop fighting yourself. You start living as one whole being, not divided, not pretending, but complete. Knowing who you are is one thing. Living it every day in real life is another. It takes courage to move from understanding yourself to expressing yourself. It's a daily practice, not a single moment of change, and it begins with small, steady steps toward honesty. The first step is awareness. Start by noticing the moments when you feel false or tense. You don't have to judge them. Just pay attention. Maybe it's when you say yes but mean no. Maybe it's when you hold back your opinion or force a smile that doesn't match how you feel. Each of those moments is a quiet signal from within saying, "Something here isn't true for me." The more you notice, the clearer that signal becomes. The next step is honesty. Gentle honesty, not harsh self-criticism. Ask yourself simple questions. What do I really feel right now? What do I actually want? What am I afraid will happen if I tell the truth? Write your answers down if it helps. Seeing your own truth in front of you makes it harder to ignore and easier to respect. Then comes small expression. You don't have to make big changes all at once. Start by expressing your real thoughts in low-stakes moments. Speak your mind kindly but clearly. Set small boundaries when you need to. Try doing one thing each day that reflects who you really are, whether that's saying no when something feels wrong or saying yes to something that feels right, even if it's unfamiliar. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And it is, because when you start living as yourself, you lose the protection of the mask. You might face misunderstanding or discomfort, but you'll also gain something far stronger, a calm sense of truth. You won't have to keep proving yourself. You'll simply be yourself. Another step is forgiveness, especially for the times you've hidden or pretended. You were doing the best you could with what you knew then. Pretending was a way to stay safe, to survive, to belong. Now you're learning a new way, one built on honesty, not fear. You can let the past go without shame, knowing it led you here. Next comes consistency. Being real isn't about a dramatic transformation. It's about steady practice. Each time you act with honesty, you strengthen trust within yourself. That trust becomes a quiet confidence. It reminds you that you can handle truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It reminds you that freedom doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being genuine. Finally, remember that being real doesn't mean being blunt or unkind. It means being authentic with compassion. You can express truth and still be gentle. You can set boundaries and still care for others. Realness doesn't divide people. It deepens connection because it's built on respect, not performance. As you practice these steps, awareness, honesty, small expression, forgiveness, and consistency, you'll start to feel something subtle but powerful: ease. Your words and actions will match. Your inner voice will grow clearer. You'll stop worrying about who you're supposed to be and start trusting who you already are. Being real is not about perfection. It's about alignment, living in a way that feels true, even when it's not easy. And once you start, you'll never want to go back. Because the peace that comes from being honest with yourself is far greater than the comfort of pretending.